My name is Arthinox, and you're watching Cloaked Mysteries, the place where we dig into ancient secrets, nature's enigmas, and creatures science insists are extinct. But the truth is, nothing on this planet is ever that simple. With every expedition and every new eyewitness account, it becomes harder to believe we know everything. Get ready for a deep dive into the mysteries of life, disappearance, and perhaps rebirth. Megatherium. The Megatherium, often called the giant ground sloth, was one of the largest mammals ever to walk the earth. This colossal creature could reach up to 6 meters long and weigh multiple tons, dominating South American landscapes for millennia. Considered extinct roughly 10,000 years ago, it remains one of the continent's greatest mysteries. Its sheer size and strength would have made it nearly impervious to the predators of its era. Still, climate shifts and expanding human populations likely sealed its fate. Yet, even after so many centuries, strange reports keep surfacing. In remote regions of the Amazon, indigenous peoples tell of a colossal being known as the Mapinguari, described as taking heavy steps and letting out bone-chilling roars. Some explorers claim to have found uprooted trees and gigantic footprints in places where, theoretically, nothing that large should exist. Those traces feed the suspicion that Megatherium might have persisted in isolated pockets of the forest. The difficulty of exploring dense, impenetrable areas only deepens the mystery. Many believe that if even a tiny remnant population survived, it would have deliberately stayed hidden. The Amazon holds vast regions still not fully mapped, sheltering animals unknown to science. Against that backdrop, the survival hypothesis doesn't seem quite as outlandish. The profound silence of the jungle keeps secrets that challenge the limits of our understanding. Even with advancing technology, drones and satellites struggle to penetrate the deepest parts of extremely dense forest. That gap leaves room for supposedly lost species to find refuge beyond human sight. As a large-bodied herbivore, the Megatherium could have adapted to swampy areas and places with abundant vegetation. Indigenous accounts often mention nocturnal behavior, suggesting these animals would avoid humans whenever possible. Science remains skeptical for now. Without recent bones or clear photographic evidence, validating these stories is difficult. Researchers point out that alleged footprints can be mistaken for those of other animals or produced by natural processes. Still, curiosity thrives among cryptozoologists and adventurous explorers. The idea of a prehistoric titan still walking the Amazon is simply irresistible. Maybe the Megatherium really is gone. Or maybe, hidden deep in the heart of the forest, it continues to watch in silence as the modern world passes by unaware of its existence. Either way, this mystery remains one of South America's most compelling. Pterosaur. Pterosaurs were the first vertebrates to achieve powered flight, ruling the skies for more than 150 million years. Their wings membranes stretched from an elongated fourth finger allowed for astonishing aerial maneuvers. Some species sported wingspans exceeding 10 meters, turning them into true monsters of the air. Their bodies were lightweight, with hollow bones, and many had prominent bony crests. They weren't dinosaurs, strictly speaking, but distant relatives that evolved along their own path. Today we believe they vanished in the mass extinction event that wiped out much of life on Earth. Still, modern reports persist from remote regions around the globe. In Papua New Guinea, locals describe the ropin as a living pterosaur with a glowing tail and leathery wings. Fishermen claim to see it cruising silently over lakes and forest canopies at night. These accounts have continued for decades and show no sign of fading away. Reports have also drawn attention in the United States. Witnesses in Texas and Arizona have described enormous winged creatures, featherless and gliding over highways or desert expanses. Some accounts include attacks on livestock, adding to the mystery of their supposed behavior. While many dismiss these stories as misidentifications, they are too numerous to ignore outright. Scientists suggest that large birds might be mistaken for prehistoric creatures at a distance. Yet descriptions of elongated beaks and membrane wings make that explanation less satisfying in many cases. Additionally, many pterosaur species are thought to have flown virtually silently, a detail that lines up with modern reports often emphasizing the eerie lack of sound during sightings. The truth is there are still near unexplored places on Earth, especially in mountain ranges and isolated islands. If some unknown descendant of pterosaurs has survived, it could have adapted to remote niches. The absence of recent fossil records doesn't fully rule out the possibility, since animals with delicate skeletons or small populations often leave little trace behind. Pterosaurs captivate us because they feel otherworldly. Their possible return would rank among the greatest discoveries of modern times. For now, they remain aloft in the realm of legend, but legends often begin with a real, fleeting glimpse. Moas were giant, flightless birds that dominated New Zealand until just a few centuries ago. Wingless and utterly incapable of flight, they relied on speed and sheer size to survive. Some species grew to over 3 meters tall, true colossi among terrestrial birds. They fed on leaves, fruits, and young shoots, shaping their local ecosystems through their grazing habits. Their disappearance dramatically transformed New Zealand's forests. When humans first arrived, moa populations plunged rapidly. Intense hunting and habitat destruction made survival nearly impossible, and within a few generations they vanished entirely, leaving only bones and stories as testimony. Yet, because their extinction is relatively recent, many people ask, did they really disappear for good? For more than a century, adventurers and rural locals have reported encounters with mysterious birds. Some descriptions tell of tall, wingless creatures sprinting through dense woodlands. Others mention tracks far larger than those of any known living species. These accounts often come from the same remote regions of the South Island, which intrigues researchers. Scientists remain skeptical but acknowledge that much of the country's interior is still sparsely explored. Dense vegetation and unpredictable weather make certain areas effectively inaccessible. That creates room for speculation that a small, hidden population could persist in secluded valleys. Still, no definitive proof has emerged. Despite doubts, expeditions continue, driven by curiosity and the hope of an unexpected reunion with the past. The idea that an animal once declared extinct could reappear is always tempting. Such a discovery would revolutionize biology and reshape our understanding of species resilience. Every suspicious footprint rekindles that hope. Among the extinct creatures often discussed, the moa may be one of the most plausible to have survived. Its recent disappearance, the isolation of New Zealand, and persistent eyewitness reports form a scenario where the boundary between myth and reality becomes perilously thin. Mokele-mbembe. Mokele-mbembe is one of the most enduring mysteries in African cryptozoology. Described for generations by tribes in the Congo, its name roughly means one who stops the flow of rivers. Its body is said to resemble that of a sauropod dinosaur, with a long neck and a thick tail. To many, it's a living memory of creatures that should have been gone for millions of years. To others, it's pure folklore. European explorers who reached the region in the early 20th century were struck by the consistency of local testimonies. Descriptions matched with surprising detail. Some travelers recounted seeing enormous shapes moving through deep swamps, creating massive waves as they crossed waterways. Those stories spawned decades of expeditions aiming to recover any physical evidence. Despite the efforts, no conclusive proof has ever been retrieved. Yet the absence of results has not dimmed the fascination. The Congo is notoriously difficult to penetrate, with vast, isolated areas largely untouched by humans. In such wild landscapes, many believe a prehistoric survivor could thrive undetected, and that belief keeps the myth alive. Conventional scientists often point to hippos or crocodiles seen under poor visibility as likely explanations. Still, numerous witnesses insist Mokele-mbembe has a distinct form and moves in ways that don't fit known species. The persistence of those accounts leaves room for alternative interpretations and continued curiosity. Stories of overturned boats and animals attacked in the water only deepen the mystery. Some tribes claim the creature is highly territorial, reacting aggressively to any intruder in its domain. For local researchers, these narratives hold deep cultural significance, a bridge between tradition and the untamed wilderness. Whether or not it truly exists, Mokele-mbembe symbolizes the idea that our world still conceals indescribable secrets. In a jungle as vast as the Congo, the line between myth and survival may be thinner than we imagine. Mammoth. Mammoths are arguably among the most famous of extinct beasts. Relatives of today's elephants, they roamed icy plains across Eurasia and North America during the last ice age. With thick fur and enormous curved tusks, they embodied the brute force of prehistoric megafauna. Fossils appear across the northern hemisphere, revealing animals of truly colossal proportions. Yet their extinction story remains shrouded in questions. Researchers believe climate change and human expansion played major roles in their decline. However, surprising discoveries show that small populations of mammoths survived until about 4,000 years ago. That means these creatures still walked the earth while the pyramids were being constructed. This fact fuels speculation about possible more recent survivals. In remote parts of Siberia, hunters have reported seeing large, hairy figures crossing frozen rivers. Geologists have also noted strange, muffled trumpet-like sounds echoing through deserted valleys. Such descriptions are controversial but have persisted for decades. Experts argue natural phenomena could explain the noises, yet the coincidences give some cause for doubt. The Siberian permafrost has preserved almost intact mammoth carcasses, complete with skin and hair. Those finds have spurred ambitious scientific efforts to resurrect the species through genetic engineering. Researchers are attempting to insert mammoth DNA into Asian elephant cells, aiming to create a cold-adapted hybrid. That work has reignited public fascination with these ancient giants. Some contend that if small refuges of mammoths lasted until so recently, isolated individuals might have persisted even longer in unfrequented areas. Siberia is immense and sparsely inhabited, with regions hardly trod by humans. If a mammoth found shelter in such conditions, we might never have discovered direct evidence. Still, science demands concrete proof. Mammoths represent a bridge between past and future lost creatures humanity is now trying to bring back. Yet there remains the tantalizing possibility that some never truly left. If they still roam lonely tundras, perhaps they wait only to be rediscovered. Megalania. Megalania was one of the largest terrestrial lizards to ever exist. A distant relative of the Komodo dragon, it could exceed 6 meters in length and weigh hundreds of kilograms. It lived in prehistoric Australia, likely ruling the top of its food chain as an apex predator. Its bite would have been extremely dangerous, possibly venomous, and few creatures could challenge it. Although believed extinct for more than 40,000 years, reports of massive, scaly animals keep appearing in remote parts of the country. Farmers occasionally describe seeing huge silhouettes cross dirt roads and vanish into the bush. Such stories are often dismissed, yet they recur with surprising frequency, many coming from hard-to-reach regions. Aboriginal legends tell of reptilian monsters so large they could topple small trees. While these tales may hold symbolic meaning, some researchers argue they could derive from real encounters with unknown descendants of Megalania. Aboriginal culture preserves very ancient knowledge, and those narratives carry important historical weight. In the mid-20th century, explorers discovered tracks that seemed to belong to unusually large reptiles. Photographs of these impressions sparked heated debates between scientists and cryptozoologists. Many suggested natural soil deformations as the cause, others maintained they belonged to animals not yet officially catalogued. The mystery remains unresolved. Australia's vastness offers perfect hiding places for rare species. Arid regions, thick forests, and mountainous zones form environments where human presence is minimal. A solitary, large predator could survive for decades without being conclusively documented. That possibility fuels speculation that Megalania might persist in isolated pockets. While there is no hard evidence, fascination persists. The idea that one of history's largest land lizards could still exist challenges our assumptions about extinction. Megalania remains a living or at least a haunting symbol of Australia's wildest mysteries. Nandi bear. The Nandi bear is among the most enigmatic creatures reported from East Africa. Described as a blend of hyena, leopard, and bear, it appears in local legends that have been passed down through generations. Some witnesses claim it has thick fur, a muscular build, and aggressive behavior. What makes the accounts especially puzzling is that no bear species is known to inhabit modern Africa. That fact deepens the mystery. Since the early 20th century, explorers and European colonists reported sightings of an unknown animal roaming plains and savannas. Many accounts mention livestock attacks, accompanied by deep-clawed marks and unusually large footprints. Even without physical proof, the accumulated reports over time bolster the idea of a relict species. Some researchers suggest the Nandi bear might be a descendant of an ancient giant hyena that went extinct thousands of years ago. Others propose it could be a primitive bear species that somehow survived in dense African forests. The variety of theories highlights how resistant the creature is to simple explanations. Still, the enigma persists. Local people often speak of deep, echoing roars heard at night. The nature of these sounds does not correspond well with any known African predator. In many villages, frightening encounter stories are passed from one generation to the next, reinforcing fear and respect for the creature. For many communities, the Nandi bear is more than myth, it is part of their lived reality. Science tries to find rational explanations, such as mutated hyenas or deformed large felids. While those ideas are possible, they don't fully account for the descriptions. The depth of the tracks, attack patterns, and furtive behavior suggests something more complex. The lack of concrete evidence, however, prevents any definitive conclusion. The mysteries of our planet are deep, ancient, and full of possibility. Each creature we've mentioned reminds us that the Earth still keeps vast secrets waiting to be uncovered. Whether revealed through eyewitness accounts, folklore, or scientific investigation, the pursuit of the unknown remains alive, and it's that spark that drives us to keep questioning and exploring. If you believe some of these animals might truly still be alive, leave a comment. I want to hear your thoughts. Which of these creatures do you think is most likely to have survived the ages? And of course, subscribe to Cloaked Mysteries to follow more stories, analyses, and enigmas that challenge everything we think we know. See you in the next mystery.